Hey, what's up? Zach here, and today I've got the New Balance Kawhi 2. And here are the biggest pros and cons of this shoe if you're looking to buy it. And I guess we might as well start off with the biggest elephant in the room, and that is the uppers of these and just how padded and supportive they are, and how that can be a huge benefit or sometimes maybe a limitation. So to start with, the tongue is padded, yeah, with this kind of Halloween spiderweb decoration. I've honestly never seen this in a tongue, and I do like it because it is nice and fluffy and it is really soft, but it is also really light, so you're not going to get really weighed down by the tongue, and it's not going to really hold in a lot of heat. And if you're wondering, no, it's not in the rest of the shoe. The rest of it is just kind of standard foam bunting. And that does kind of bring me to the ankle collar. And if you notice, it is very high, very padded, and it kind of combines itself with that fit weave light. And as I've said just countless times on this channel, mid and high top shoes do not prevent ankle sprains. However, in the case of the Kawhi 2 with its construction, it kind of gets as close as a shoe will to preventing an ankle sprain that's out on the market right now. And what I mean by that is not only does the ankle collar come up very high as well as the heel counter, but there's no swoop in the middle. There's no real room for the ankle to move back and forth. And that is really going to lock down your ankle. Now that combined with this woven upper, which is incredibly strong, also incredibly light, this shoe is going to kind of hold you in place really well. Now that combined with the overall shape of the shoe, which is pretty bulbous here in the midfoot, it just makes the shoe really ultra stable. Now, can you still sprain your ankle in this shoe? Absolutely. However, with the engineering of these are just about the most supportive uppers I've played in yet this year. But just remember, these shoes do require a little bit of break-in before they'll start moving at all. However, the heavier, the bigger the athlete you are, the more these are going to kind of suit you because you're going to be able to break that in a lot quicker than someone that's a little smaller and lighter. And speaking of all that support, if you notice the gold-plated external kind of outrigger heel counter here, that is actually combined with an internal heel counter too, which is pretty stiff, and that really does give you some extra confidence when moving side to side in these. And also, just speaking of strength, if you look at the upper durability test, the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper, or on the toe cap guard, the Dremel did bite through that. However, if you look at the durability test just on the woven layer underneath of it, really barely a scuff did not get through that layer. So even if you do get through that top layer of the toe drag guard, the layer underneath of it is just as strong to abrasion. Now, getting into the midsole teardown, this is one of my favorite teardowns this year just because of the simple and just effective engineering of this midsole. Now, this is entire bed of New Balance fuel cell, which is really good for energy absorption, sometimes not great for energy return. However, this is a dual density fuel cell foam. You got the higher density going the full length, and then you have lower density underneath of that in the heel. Now that goes underneath the polypropylene shank that runs all the way from the heel all the way into the junction of the mid and forefoot. That's going to give you a ton of cantilevering because it is actually pretty stiff. It's also jutted out here in the middle, so it's allowed to bend a little bit easier than some other shanks, which is just one straight plate there, which is just a really interesting design, and no one ever sees that, which is really cool. It really just shows you New Balance was actually considering performance and not just kind of cosmetics with the shoe. The one thing I did notice though, because that shank comes all the way into the heel and the lower density foam is underneath of the higher density foam, it isn't as plush feeling as some other fuel cell shoes from New Balance can be. However, the cool part of having the extra long shank and the lower density foam underneath and the higher density right under the muscles of your foot is these actually give a little bit better energy return than some other fuel cell shoes do. If you look at the jump height test, 33 centimeters on that, which is a little better than some other New Balances we've tested this year. And that performance was really consistent. Of all 10 serves I did to average these out, I didn't dip below 32, I didn't go above 34. So the shoe really does stay consistent in performance. Now the outsole tread's probably my favorite part of this shoe. This thing grabs just about anything. Outdoor courts, even slicker outdoor courts, indoor courts, dust, whatever. Because of the wave pattern of these shoes and how it diverges in different directions, it really does grab very well. That rubber is allowed to roll into the surface and kind of dig in, but it's mostly the translucent rubber that you're actually touching ground on. And honestly, the grip on these was really great on any surface I put them on. And I was actually testing another shoe that day that had horrible grip on it, which we'll talk about in another video. And these just were really allowed to kind of shine through, and it really kind of stood out to me how good the grip on these is. And the other thing I like that New Balance did is they put the rubber all the way up here on the toe cap. So if you are a dragger or a slider, or just push off from awkward positions or kind of on the inside of your shoe, you're still gonna get a great grip from that position. So these shoes really do have kind of nimble footwork in the outsole and incredible grip in the outsole. And even if you look at the outsole durability test with the Dremel 10 seconds high grit sandpaper, really not even a millimeter of damage on a 3mm tread depth and 5mm thickness. And the reason I harp on those numbers so much is because this is more of a wave pattern. So even though you're starting to bottom out tread after a while, because it is a wave, you can use the entire thickness of the tread versus some others which are just little jut out, really thin pieces of tread, and once they wear down, the shoe's kind of done. On this one, you can actually use the entire thickness of the tread. That's why they're so durable outdoors. Even if you look at the durometer of these, 13.3 on the durometer, which is just as good as any other really high performance rubber. So all in all, if you're looking for a shoe that's super durable and can grip on any surface, best shoe of the year for that, no question. Now the fit of the Kawhi 2 honestly is the biggest bummer to me. Not that they don't fit well, they just fit true to size. Unless you are incredibly narrow, then you can go down 1/2 size. And if you are above a 2E, you can go up that 1/2 size. However, they don't come in variable widths. So you can't get the double or quad E on these. They only come in the standard size. And that's really a disappointment because I like to recommend New Balance to a lot of people in my office across a lot of different sports, because you can kind of dial in that fit on the shoe, especially if you have a wider forefoot or bunion or tailor's bunion. However, on these, I'm guessing because of supply chain issues, they were just trying to get the shoe out, so they just manufactured in the standard so they could get enough of those out there. However, I would say if you are a 2E, look for about an hour of break-in with these. I definitely had some cramping in my left foot on these for about an hour. It did break in, but because that upper is so strong, it is going to kind of hug you a little bit. Now, playing in the Kawhi 2, honestly, it took me a day to really figure out what these shoes were all about. When I first laced them up, nothing was really standing out to me in them. However, once I broke them in, I really started getting a feel for these shoes. And honestly, if you're a bigger player, bigger center, bigger power forward, and you need a shoe with a lot of protection, stability, and grip, but you want something more nimble than say something like the LeBron 19, the KD 14, these are a perfect shoe once you break them in. They give so much grip and stability, but they're also more nimble than all the other shoes in its class. It plays a lot more like say the Curry Flow line or the PG6 once it's broken in, but you're still getting that ankle stability. So if you're looking for a shoe in the more maximalist category that still has a lot of nimble footwork and something you can kind of get out of your own way with, these are a phenomenal shoe. They also give very uniform performance no matter where you are on court. So if you're in the paint versus on the perimeter, these shoes are just going to give you kind of a more uniform feel, which I know kind of sounds like minutia. However, in some shoes I noticed in certain positions they perform great and in others they don't, whereas this one's just really standard across the board. I really feel like after that hour of break-in on these shoes, they really start to come alive. So I'd say if you are a bigger player or someone that's looking for a lot of durability on outdoor courts or just one shoe for every court, these are one of the best out there right now. But just remember, on the flip side of that coin, these are not going to be the most plush feeling shoes either. They're not going to feel like the KD 14, just because number one, they got an all woven upper. Number two, that high density fuel cell combined with a long shank. Once that fuel cell here starts to give, you are going to start feeling that plastic shank here under your heel. So if I were going to buy these, like I said, I would put just something, maybe like a low profile over the counter orthotic, something like the Move Game Day or Game Day Pro, something with a little bit of heel padding in there too. If you want to see my review on that, I'll link it down in the description below. Like I said, they're not uncomfortable by any means. They're just not going to be ultra plush feeling like some of the other maximalist shoes out there. They're meant to feel more like a more performance-based shoe and then give you all the security of those more maximalist shoes. So just keep that in mind. And with all that's going on with these shoes, I would love to hear your opinion of them. Are you looking to buy a pair? Have you already gotten a pair? Or are you looking to go with something else? Let me know in the comments down below. And like I said, the Kawhi 2 does have a pretty similar playing profile to the KD 14, except maybe just a little bit more nimble on the Kawhi 2, a little more plush feeling on the KD 14. So if you do want to see my review and teardown of the KD 14, make sure you click into this playlist up above and subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam and whatever this is. I'll see you in the next video.